Tonight at St. Lucia Network News. The tragic death of Dr. Mabite. The split between H&M and the real H&M. The new rivalry between Laurent Mabite Jr. and Major Catastrophe. Car bomb explodes in Luaba, killing 18 innocent people. And fighting continues in Hiringa province between Unfom, H&M and real H&M. Thousands flee the fighting in Hiringa. UN observers unable to deny or confirm ethnic cleansing in Hiringa province. 3 peacekeepers taken hostage in Dijian. Political progress. Taya and Kone agree on swapping prisoners of war. Humanitarian situation improves significantly. The untold story, success story of HIV/AIDS and tackling this tragedy in Mendu. Finally, Germany qualifies for the World Cup after an epic win against Ireland 2 nights ago. Good evening. Welcome to St. Lucia Network News. Dr. Mabite, the longtime leader of the H&M, has been assassinated. Until very recently, breakthrough was achieved by the SRSG in getting Dr. Mabite's willingness to allow Unfom forces to be deployed within Hiringa territory. Dr. Mabite, in one of his last public appearances, had welcomed here the international community's efforts to come into Hiringa province.
My fellow Menduans and fellow Hiringans, I am delighted to announce that I have granted permission for Unfom to deploy throughout Hiringa province. I could barely contain myself. They bring with them various great aid, relief efforts and infrastructural projects to the Hiringan people, and I am expecting that we are working alongside Unfom and the international community to resolve our tensions. I have at the same time not signed anything. We are willing to receive this deployment as a way to engage and negotiate and put behind us our troubles. And so we have the peacekeepers on our ground to of course also ensure that no ethnic cleansing is occurring, and we welcome them and look forward to working with them. Yes.
Last video footage of the late Dr. Mabite 2 days before he was assassinated. Claim to the assassination was made by a new faction, the real H&M, a splinter group within the H&M that is seen to be consisting of extremists who disapprove strongly of Dr. Mabite's political move in collaborating, working with the peacekeepers. In a video statement, the real H&M claimed credit for the assassination of Dr. Mabite.
I am Major Catastrophe. I represent the real H&M. As you've heard, Dr. Mabite, the pretender, has been killed. And he got what was coming to him. Because he did not recognize the true claims of the Hiringan people to this land. And this fight will not be over until the enemy, the foreigners, the invaders, have been pushed out and our sovereignty of our land and of our people has been restored. Mabite Jr., look out.
Mabite Jr., the new leader of the H&M, son to the late Dr. Mabite, Laurent Mabite Jr. has taken over the leadership of the H&M and has emphasized in another video statement, too long to be played here, that he is willing to continue in the footsteps of his father, trying to engage and resolve the conflict politically. He has reached out in the statement to Taya and Kone and in the international community to argue that he is willing and ready to further negotiate and bring an end to this conflict, but also calling for an international investigation into the death of his father. Commenting on the tragic death of Dr. Mabite, Steve Kone and President Taya made the following statements.
It is a tragedy that occurred with regards to Dr. Mabite. He was I think, a person who was largely misunderstood by a lot of people, and he was a great leader to the Haringans. Nobody deserves to get killed, no matter what the issue is, and I highly condemn this act. But we need to now, again, as I said before, stop the fighting shit and get on track. And we will, of course, be working happily and closely with the Bambino, the son of Dr. Mabite, Laurent Mabite Jr., to get back on track.
From the early days in Oxford until his tragic death only 2 weeks ago, Dr. Mabite and I have never really seen eye to eye on so many things. But it is, of course, something I feel extremely sorry for. He was a competitor and a rival of the most upper scales, and of course, we as president have nothing to do with his death. We need to focus on the future, drag our attention onto what is really important here, and that is to engage with those who are coming forward and attack those who are trying to drag us backwards here. In this case, the real H&M.
Question arising, of course, is how has the tragic death of Dr. Mabite, the rise of his son Laurent Mabite Jr., affected, and will it affect, the attempts to resolve the conflict in Mendu? The fighting, the fallout between H&M and real H&M has effectively led to a split within the green-marked territory, the northwestern part of Mendu. The eastern part, including the Haringan regional capital, is under the control of Mabite Jr., the H&M. The western part, also involving diamond mines, is now under the control of the real H&M under the leadership of Major Catastrophe. This is also where most of the clashes between uniform forces and the real H&M are occurring. Clashes that have up to this date led to 8 peacekeepers getting killed, 12 getting wounded. UNFOM claims that between 40 to 50 fighters of the real H&M have been killed on the other side. Clashes are also reported between real H&M as well as H&M in this particular part of Mendu. As a result of the fighting, tens of thousands flee Haringa province. It looks as if, yet again, like last month, the majority of those fleeing, as can be seen on these pictures here, are local Gakombans who do no longer feel safe within Haringa province, and in particular the area under the control now of the real H&M. Many of those fleeing, including this particular refugee or displaced person, are claiming that they are being persecuted because they are Gakombans.
Killing is happening everywhere, like left, right and center, and it's only incumbents who get killed in Hiringa province, and will anyone ever do anything about this?
UN observers have been located in Hiringa province for a month with the mandate to, amongst others, investigate claims over ethnic cleansing. After 1 month, the Commission can neither confirm nor deny that ethnic cleansing is actually happening in the province. Their work, therefore, continues. President Taya speaks out on the alleged claims of ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic cleansing has been occurring for far too long. It is yet again happening. We can see with the refugee flow, and the intelligence I have gathered indicates that the real H&M is clearly behind all of this. We need to stop this. The common people do not deserve to be slaughtered, whilst the international community is standing by idly. So, to the general slogan known in the Southern Hemisphere as "Stop the boats," I will add, "Stop the ethnic cleansing."
The United Nations headquarters argued in response to President Taya's claim that there is no evidence thus far that ethnic cleansing is actually occurring, also emphasizing the difficulty of moving around a terrain that is very inhospitable, that is remotely located, and that now, of course, sees major clashes between UNFOM and real H&M forces on the ground. In Dijian, UNFOM as well as UN police have moved in to try and engage local gangs that had been in control of the streets. While the overall mission has been very successful, 3/4 of Dijian have been pacified, have been brought under the control of UNFOM. 1/4 of the city of Dijian remains under the control of gangs and rebels. In that process, 3 UN peacekeepers have been taken hostage, and this picture as well as a video has been released that gives evidence of their particular ordeal.
What are we supposed to say?
I don't know.
Help!
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 Help! Help! Don't let them kill us! I'm scared!
No information has been obtained as to whether any ransom has been asked for or whether any political requests have been made for the release of those peacekeepers. On other news, political progress has been made between the PAM and the DFIM. President Taya and Steve Kone, who have re-met in the Joint Military Commission, have agreed that they will swap 2,500 of each of their prisoners of war and call upon the International Committee of the Red Cross to organize and see through the swapping of prisoners. No further progress has been made with regards to the disarmament program. Taya in particular argues that he does not see the need to disarm at this particular point, especially because of the violent clashes and the rise of the real H&M. And without Taya indicating a willingness to disarm, Steve Kone equally does not want to push forward with unilateral disarmament. The humanitarian situation. Humanitarian situation we have reported on last month had been seeing some progress but struggled with significant challenges with regards to humanitarian supplies as well as situations of security and insecurity on the ground. We now hand over to our local correspondent who is giving us a brief update on what has happened on the ground with regards to the humanitarian situation. If you saw me last month going on about the deficiencies of the international response to the IDP, refugee and humanitarian crisis in and around Mendu, I have to say this time I come with better news. It is very clear that significant progress has been done, both in IDP and in refugee camps. In IDP camps, in particular, the progress is due to two particular developments. Number one, we see now for the first time UNFOM, UN police, and in some cases private security companies having been deployed into all the IDP camps, which has significantly stabilized the situation in most of these camps. Secondly, whereas last month lack of coordination between NGOs in those camps had led to thousands of deaths, this time no such deaths have occurred. The reason for this is that the international community got its act together and coordinated well. In fact, they coordinated overly well. Now we see a complete oversupply of all the goods in those particular camps. So while this has resulted in a stabilization of the humanitarian situation in those camps, it has at the same time, of course, led to various local non-IDPs, local Menduans, who are struggling to get food on their own plates, who are struggling with the lack of sanitation and health provisions in the country, see them move into the camps themselves. Sometimes 60,000 of them have moved into those camps. So in a way, a lot of the food aid, the water, the sanitation, the health provisions are now being handed out to others than just IDPs. With regards to the refugee camps, the situation does not look as good yet, but better than it looked last month. Again, whereas a lot of camps have been overlooked or completely ignored by the international community in the previous month, this month we have seen them all deploy into most of these camps. Problems exist, however, with some undersupply of some of those goods, but in particular with the lack of security. Not many security forces are there, and when they have been deployed, they tend to be insufficient to address the security issues in those camps. Be this, on the one hand, the political power of warlords in the refugee camps in the south, be this the ethnic clashes that have gotten worse between Hiringans and Gakombos in the Dabire and in the Dabore camp. In fact, we have seen ethnic clashes that seem to be spilling from the fallout with the H&M over into those two refugee camps for a while now, but we have recently seen them also come to the fore in a new IDP camp, the Abumo camp, which has been set up inside Mendu, but has seen some of the worst ethnic clashes between the Hiringans and the Gakombos, and some people are seriously questioning the decision by the international community to set up this camp, which has effectively combined Hiringans who have fled violence from Gakombos in Mamundo, together with Gakombans who have fled Hiringa province because of alleged ethnic clashes with Hiringans over there. So bring those two together in a camp, and the result is, due to a lack of sufficient security provisions, 31 Gakombans getting killed, as well as 14 Hiringans getting killed. On a larger scale, a lot of long-term projects have been implemented, and we see the building of schools, we see the building of hospitals, we see sanitation work, we see roads being put in infrastructure projects overall. So a lot of progress has been done on these fronts, which does of course often get lost in the international news, because they are just very, very small processes that in the long term will of course help bring this country back on its feet. With that, back to St. Lucia Network News in Brisbane.
Thank you very much for your assessment on the ground. Finally, a success story. HIV/AIDS has been plaguing various regions in Africa for a long time. The international intervention into Mendu has now seen over the last month a tremendous stepping up of workshops, of health provisions, of awareness projects that try to directly tackle the spread of HIV/AIDS on the ground, within IDP camps, within refugee camps, and without. It is fair to say that the local tackling in Mendu of HIV/AIDS has been so significant that it stands out as one of the key examples of uniting international efforts to tackle this particular crisis. And so the International World Health Organization has given a strong positive approval of these actions, pointing out that the current actions taken in Mendu with regards to HIV/AIDS are exemplary and should be a beacon of example for the rest of the world. With that, we end tonight's newscast. Good night.